Our last topic this week is on page 9 in your packet, so turn to page 9. And this topic is factoring linear expressions. Now, this is GCF factoring, or called undoing the distributive property. When you get to algebra in high school, you're going to do a lot more complex factoring. So this is one of the easier types of factoring that we have. It's only one we're going to look at here in 7th grade. So at the very top of the page, you have a sentence with a blank in it. It says, factoring with GCF is like undoing the distributive property. I misspelled it, the distributive property. So I purposely chose some multiple choice ones for you to look at first to kind of have some guiding toward it, and then we're going to do some that aren't multiple choice to kind of scaffold in. So I'm going to do this first one with you as an example. So factor 4x plus 24. So if I covered this up and I did not have these answer choices, I'm going to teach you what to do as if they were not there. And then I'm going to show you, if you do have answer choices, something that you can do. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to look at all the terms and you say, okay, is there a number that all of these terms have in common? Back in elementary school, you practiced GCF, greatest common factor, which are numbers that multiply to give you the same number there. So 4 and 24, what do they have in common? Well, they're both even, so I know they're both divisible by 2, but they're also both divisible by 4. And since this is GCF factoring, we want to go with the greatest one, the biggest one. So we're going to go with 4. And so what you do is you put 4 outside of a parentheses, because what we're doing is undoing that distributive property. So we're saying, if we were to look at this, this is what it is after we've distributed. What did it look like before you distributed? So I have to divide each term by 4. So 4x divided by 4 is 1x, and 24 divided by 4 is 6. And you close your parenthesis. And that's it. So how you can check it is, if I took this 4 and distributed it, would I get what we originally had? 4 times x is 4x, and 4 times 6 is 24. Yes, I would. So then we look at our answer choices, and that answer choice is right there, letter B. Now, using the answer choices, even if we didn't know what we were doing, we could take all the answer choices and distribute them out and see which one was the same. So for instance, I distributed this first answer choice, 4 times x is 4x, and 4 times 2 is 8. Is that what we originally had up here? No. So A is not my answer. If I distribute B, 4 times x is 4x, and 4 times 6 is 24. Is that what I originally had? Yes. So that is my answer. So we essentially have 2 steps when we're doing this. First, figure out what the greatest common factor is. Second, divide each piece by that common factor. Well, what are factors? Those are things that multiply to give you the number. So if we were doing this problem all over again and you were like, Miss Six, I don't know what greatest common factor is. What you do is you'd start with 4 and you'd make a list. What are all the things that multiply to give you 4? 1 and 4. And then 2 times 2. So 1, 2, and 4, the only things that can multiply to give you 4. For 24, you got 1 times 24, 2 times 12, 3 times 8, and 4 times 6. Well, what is the biggest one they have that's a match? And that is 4. Yes, 2 is a match, but it's not the greatest. And so that's what goes out in front of the parentheses. So when I look down here at number 4, 48 and 8, what do they both have in common? Well, if I write out all the factors for 48, that would be 1 and 48, 2 and 24, 3 and 16, 4 and 12, and then 6 and 8. Then if I listed all the factors for 8, that would be 1 and 8, 2 and 4, and that's it. Well, what's the biggest one they have in common? 8. They both have an 8. So I would put that 8 out front, and I'd say, okay, what's 48x divided by 8? Well, 48 divided by 8 is 6, and we put the x. And what's 8 divided by 8? It's 1, so we put 1. So our answer is 8 times 6 plus 1, 6x plus 1, which is letter A. Now I'm going to save some of these multiple choice ones for you to try on your own. So I'm going to go down to one of these that's not multiple choice. So I'm going to look at number 10. Factor the expression. What do 15 and 8 have in common? When I look at 15 and 8, I automatically see that they have a 3 in common, but that's because I've done this a lot. What you might have to do is, again, list it out. 1 and 15, 2 won't go into it. 3 and 5, 4 won't go into it, and we've already got back up to 5, so that's all that'll go into 15. For 18, we got 1 and 18, 2 and 9, 3 and 6, 4 won't go into it, 5 won't go into it, so we're done. So what's the largest one they both have in common? 3. So I put that 3 on the outside the parentheses, and I say, okay, what is 15F divided by 3? 15 divided by 3 is 5, and 18 divided by 3 is 6. And I look, do 5 and 6 still have anything in common other than 1? No. So we are done. If you want to check it, you could distribute the 3, but make sure that you circle the answer before you distribute that 3. And then number 12. Factor 5x plus 10 plus 15y. What do 5, 10, and 15 all have in common? Well, 5 is prime, so the only thing that'll go into 5 is 1 and 5. Will 5 go into 10? Yep. Will 5 go into 15? Yep. So my common factor here is 5. So I divide each piece by 5. Well, 5x divided by 5 is x. 10 divided by 5 is 2. And 15y divided by 5 is 3y. It doesn't matter if there's 100 terms. You're going to have to figure out what all 100 have in common. I'm not going to give you more than 3. Most of the time, I'll just give you 2. But you figure out what they have in common. That goes out front. And then you divide each piece by that. What I want you to do is I want you to try the multiple choice ones on this page. I want you to try 2 through 8 on your own, the multiple choice. Email me if you have any questions.